Pretty Little Liars Original Sin is HBO's latest into the Pretty Little Liars universe, although this doesn't really take place in regards to the original. Well, we're not sure about that yet. This one's definitely one that I've come to enjoy so far. 3 episodes in, that's how many episodes are available right now. This will come out weekly on Thursdays, but let's get into the first 3 episodes and just run through them and that ending of the last episode, because this one's definitely turning interesting for sure. So before we get into any of that, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell if you haven't already so you know when these videos drop. And also we have a podcast coming out on Wednesday. You can check out our trailer for it. We already have it up, or it'll be at the end of this video, so stick around for that. But let's talk about Pretty Little Liars Original Sin, which, as I said, doesn't really have anything to do with the original series. I did manage to catch some of the episodes of the original series, and I enjoyed them for the most part, but I really didn't get to finish the series as a whole. But now I was like, okay, this new one that's coming out looks very interesting, and I'm excited for this one because from the first episode in, I definitely got the vibes of they were very much so giving homage to a lot of horror movies, horror shows, and all of that. Not just from the past, but also from the present. They even talk about Ari Aster in here, so definitely a lot of modern horror talk if you're into that, as well as the past, and gave me like Scream vibes of how meta the show is at times as well. Pretty much you follow a group of friends, so there's 2 timelines here, so I'm going like there's 4. Peace. Anyways, there's 2 timelines going on here. There's a past timeline with the mothers of the daughters that we're going to be pretty much following the most of the time. And so we witnessed that back in 1999, they witnessed a girl pretty much like off herself, and pretty much what happened here is nobody really took any blame for it or tried to help her at any point, leaving her body there to only be discovered days later. And you can tell that this is sort of eating them up in the inside with guilt because of everything that's happened, as now like basically I think like back into the present time, so like 23 years later, they're still dealing with everything that happened. Now on the other side of things, you have the daughters who are now in high school as well, and pretty much dealing with something similar. Right before we get to all of that happens, however, we get some backstory into all of them. The main character and also her best friend, Imogen and Karen, are pretty much getting into a very bad situation as their friendship is deteriorating, as one pretty much kissed the other one's boyfriend at the time. And so this caused a lot of controversy and stuff between them, and pretty much leads into high school back and forthness with drama and all of that. But it slowly starts to escalate to even bigger things as we pretty much see the other girls that are kind of being tormented by this bully Karen start to realize that they need to take Karen down. Ultimately, this leads to them like publicly humiliating Karen, and also now Imogen, who had been going up against Karen for the Spring Queen, is now going to be crowned queen at this event, and that is where Karen pretty much loses it and decides to pull a Carrie on her, dumping red paint. But before she can even do this, a killer that's been on the loose and sort of also antagonizing the others' mothers has sort of come now into their lives. Mass killer and everything, we don't know who they are, and pretty much we know that they are the ones who probably delivered that note at the beginning of the first episode that was the reason that Imogen's mother pretty much died because of it. And so now he pushes Karen off, ultimately killing her, and makes a spectacle in front of the whole school. The other girls get sort of put into the whole mix of things when they showed a very humiliating video of her that was sort of the reason that they believe the principal and her father, Karen's father, who actually is the sheriff as well, is leading this investigation. And he's not really a good guy, really, if you know him and see him throughout the show. And he's kind of like, I'm going to take all of you girls down and I'm going to do whatever it takes. And the principal's kind of like, okay, whatever you say, we'll do whatever you say, you know? So he's not really like the one to come out and defend these girls for sure. By the end of the last episode that we got, they all go to Karen's grave and sort of start to grieve there and give their respects and all of that. And then they realize that the killer is right there watching them, and that's pretty much where we end things off. So what is going on here? So I think pretty much here we have a situation where all of these girls' mothers are still going to pay for what happened to that girl. We don't know exactly the situation she was in when she was asking for help. We see her asking for help at the dance and all of that, and all of the girls are ignoring her, and then she pretty much goes to the top and falls to her death. We don't know exactly if she did it for sure or if something else is behind all of this. I think in this past like timeline, it's sort of like this happened on its own. I don't think there was a killer back then, but I think there was somebody there at that dance that didn't forget about what happened that night and is sort of now trying to make these women now pay for everything by tormenting their daughters. So I think that's something that's going on here. Whoever A is as the killer is going to be somebody who was at that dance or knew something about that and knows that these people didn't do anything to try and help this girl that ultimately died, Angela, in 1999. And now the whole thing repeating itself, I think, is sort of them sending a message to the mothers that now this is happening with their daughters, because now Karen is the one that ultimately fell to her death. Of course, that wasn't accidental or anything. That was on purpose by A, who is the killer, and pretty much the one that did everything to sort of pin the blame on Karen. When the girls thought that Karen was trying to sabotage them, it was actually A the whole time who was doing all of this. So this series has definitely gotten off to a jump start. I'm excited to check it out weekly now, find out the mystery about who A is. I love the vibes that it gives as well with the horror elements and all of that, and I'd love to do a video breaking down all of them and just catching every single like Easter egg and moment from horror that this show has, because there's a ton in here and some that surprised me, have me chuckling, all of that. I love the vibes of it as well, because it doesn't try to take itself too seriously either. Like, it knows who it is, like the show itself, and it's still very much so a fun watch for sure. So definitely recommend it. I'm going to be covering it weekly. Thursday we'll be covering it. We'll do live shows if y'all want for it as well. I'll see if anybody's interested in doing that and just talking about it, all of that. But this was just a quick recap on the first 3 episodes. They're all up on HBO Max if you want to go check them out. I really do recommend it, especially if you like American Horror Story, things like that. It definitely gives me like the same vibes and all of that. Scream Queens, all that. So definitely check it out if you want. But as I said, we'll be covering it on Thursdays after it premieres, so don't want to miss out on that. And we also have American Horror Stories on Thursdays. We got a ton of stuff we're covering all week, so I'll be leaving some stuff for you. But like I said, we will have the trailer for the podcast that's coming up, all based around spooky stuff, horror, all of that, as we're getting into spooky season. So stay tuned for that. At the end of this video, it'll play like 10 seconds after the outro right here. But as always, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. On the road to 25,000 subscribers. We're so close to 24,000. Really excited for that. We will be catching a ton of movies that we will be covering pretty soon. I'll make some more announcements on that. But as always, that's going to do it for me. Check out the videos on the left. Check out all our other videos. Stay tuned for the Pretty Little Liars on Thursday as we cover the next episode. But as always, stay safe, stay positive. So making it to the end, if you just saw that little trailer right there, I know it's a little funny, but we are doing a horror podcast for the whole spooky season, starting on Wednesday all the way up until October 31st, of course, Halloween. So make sure you're following us here to know when that drops, and we'll provide the link and everything in the description. So if you want to just get started following the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, you can go ahead and do that. But thanks for tuning in, and we got a ton more videos your way.